The most powerful illusion is not the one imposed by force, but the one you never think to question. You wake each morning already inside it. The screen lights up before your own awareness does. The world greets you with demands, narratives, identities and fears already preloaded. You are told what matters before you remember who you are. And because everyone else agrees on the same illusion, it feels solid, undeniable, real. This is not an accident. This is Maya doing exactly what it was designed to do. Maya is not simply falsehood. That definition is too crude. In the ancient traditions, Maya is appearance mistaken for essence. It is reality filtered through the senses, shaped by conditioning, reinforced by memory, and weaponized by desire. The illusion persists, not because it is convincing, but because it is familiar. You confuse repetition for truth. The more often you see something, the more real it feels, even if it is hollow. Look carefully at modern life, and you will see Maya perfected. Social media is not connection, it is performance. Consumer culture is not fulfillment, it is perpetual dissatisfaction, carefully disguised as aspiration. Even spirituality has been packaged into identities and aesthetics. Enlightenment becomes another possession. Awakening becomes something to display. The illusion adapts. Maya survives by evolving faster than your awareness. The cruelty of Maya is subtle. It does not imprison you with chains. It distracts you with rewards, likes, status, approval, security, identity. You are not forced to participate. You are seduced. And because the seduction offers moments of pleasure, you forgive the cost. Anxiety, comparison, emptiness, and the constant background hum of not enoughness. Maya feeds on your attention the way fire feeds on oxygen. Ancient texts warned about this long before algorithms existed. In the Upanishads, the world is described as a dream mistaken for permanence. In Gnostic scripture, the cosmos itself is portrayed as a layered deception, beautiful, intricate, but fundamentally misaligned with truth. Even the Buddha did not call the world evil, he called it impermanent. The danger is not the illusion, it is your attachment to it. You do not suffer because life is painful. You suffer because you expect illusion to deliver permanence. You expect relationships to stabilize identity. You expect possessions to secure worth. You expect recognition to quiet the voice that says something is missing. And when these things fail, as they always do, you call it tragedy instead of revelation. This chapter is not here to comfort you. It is here to destabilize what you assumed was solid. If the world feels exhausting, it is because you are trying to extract truth from a surface phenomenon. If you feel anxious without knowing why, it is because something deeper in you remembers that this is not the whole story. That remembrance is not imagination. It is the beginning of clarity. The first step out of Maya is not escape. It is seeing. Seeing without romanticizing. Seeing without condemnation. Seeing without trying to fix anything. When illusion is fully seen, it loses its grip. Not because it disappears, but because it is no longer mistaken for home. The ego does not announce itself as a tyrant. It presents itself as protection. It tells you it is keeping you safe, helping you succeed, ensuring you are not left behind. In truth, the ego is a contract you signed unconsciously. I will trade truth for control. And every attachment you cling to is a clause in that contract. The ego survives by convincing you that without it, you would disappear. It binds identity to outcomes, career, relationships, reputation, beliefs. If these collapse, it whispers, "You collapse." This is why loss feels like annihilation. This is why criticism feels like violence. The ego has fused your sense of existence to impermanent forms. Fear of missing out is not about opportunity. It is about identity instability. Validation seeking is not vanity. It is dependency. You are not addicted to praise. You are addicted to reassurance that you exist in the eyes of others. When approval fades, the ego panics because it has no internal anchor. It must be constantly reflected to feel real. Observe how attachment manufactures suffering. You imagine a future outcome, success, love, recognition, and then quietly demand reality conform to it. When it doesn't, frustration arises. When it threatens to disappear, fear arises. When it is taken, grief arises. None of this pain is caused by the event itself. It is caused by the ego's insistence that life obey its narrative. Ancient myths understood this pattern intimately. In the Gnostic tale of the demiurge, the false ruler believes itself to be the source of all things, blind to the greater fullness beyond it. The ego operates the same way. It claims authorship over your life while being entirely dependent on conditions it does not control. Its arrogance is born from ignorance. Detachment is often misunderstood as rejection of life. This misunderstanding comes from the ego, which equates letting go with losing power. In reality, detachment is the refusal to hand your sovereignty to what can be taken. You do not stop caring. You stop clinging. You stop demanding permanence from what was never meant to last. Recognizing the ego's patterns is not self-attack. Shame only strengthens the illusion. Clarity dissolves it. When you notice the reflex, defending, grasping, comparing, do not condemn it, see it. The moment it is seen without identification, its authority weakens. Awareness is not passive, it is surgical. The ego thrives on urgency. Everything feels immediate, everything feels personal. Detachment introduces space. Space reveals choice. When space appears, reaction is no longer automatic. This is the beginning of freedom, not as a philosophy, but as a lived experience. You are no longer dragged by every emotional current. You do not kill the ego. You outgrow its jurisdiction. And when that happens, the contract quietly dissolves. What remains is not emptiness, but something far more stable than identity, something the illusion cannot touch. Most people resist detachment because they confuse it with indifference. They imagine a cold withdrawal from life, a dull neutrality where nothing matters. This misunderstanding keeps them trapped. True detachment is not numbness, it is precision. It is the ability to feel fully without being owned by what you feel. The ego recoils at this because it survives by fusion, not clarity. Detachment begins with a simple but radical act, observing without merging. Thoughts arise, emotions surge, impulses demand reaction, but you do not move with them automatically. You watch. This watching is not passive. It is an interruption in the machinery of illusion. The moment you see a thought as a thought, rather than as you, the spell weakens. The ancient disciplines were ruthless about this. Monks were trained to watch desire rise and fall without satisfying it or suppressing it. Not because desire was sinful, but because unexamined desire enslaves. When you obey every impulse, you are not free, you are programmable. Detachment is the refusal to be programmed. Begin with the smallest laboratory, your daily reactions. Someone disagrees with you. A plan changes. A message goes unanswered. Notice the immediate contraction. The story forms instantly. Disrespect, threat, rejection. Before action, before defense, before justification, pause. This pause is not hesitation. It is sovereignty reasserting itself. The 3-breath pause sounds simple because it is simple. Breathe in once and feel the body. Breathe again and feel the emotion without naming it. Breathe a 3rd time and ask nothing of the moment. In those 3 breaths, the ego loses momentum. You are no longer reacting from conditioning. You are choosing from presence. Detachment does not remove difficulty. It removes unnecessary suffering. Pain still arises. Loss still happens. But the secondary suffering, the mental resistance, the narrative collapse, the identity threat, falls away. What remains is clean, direct, manageable. This is why detachment feels like relief rather than sacrifice once practiced. Reactivity is expensive. It drains energy, clouds perception, and reinforces illusion. Non-reactivity conserves power. When you stop feeding the drama of every stimulus, clarity accumulates. You begin to see patterns instead of episodes. You see how often suffering repeats itself through slightly different costumes. Do not aim for perfection. Aim for noticing. Every time you catch yourself mid-reaction, you weaken the old reflex. Every time you choose not to escalate, you reclaim energy. Detachment is built through repetition, not insight alone. Insight opens the door. Practice walks you through it. This is where Maya begins to crack, not through grand revelations, but through quiet refusals. You stop offering your nervous system as tribute to illusion. You stop paying attention where attention is being farmed. And slowly, something steadier than emotion begins to emerge. Behind every identity you have ever worn, there is something that has never changed. It watched you as a child. It watched you during heartbreak. It watches you now as these words land. It does not panic. It does not rush. It does not need reassurance. This is what the ancients called the monad, not a god in the sky, but the indivisible ground of awareness itself. The monad is not something you acquire. That language is part of the illusion. You do not reach it, earn it, or build toward it. You remember it by subtraction. Every attachment released reveals what was already there. Every identification dropped exposes what cannot be lost. Moments of this remembrance happen to people unexpectedly. In grief, in awe, in stillness, in exhaustion. The mind falls silent for a fraction of a second, and in that gap, there is peace without reason. No narrative, no achievement, just presence, intact and sufficient. Most people dismiss these moments and rush back into noise. They assume it was accidental. It was not. Ancient myths encoded this truth symbolically. The hero descends into darkness not to gain power, but to remember origin. The divine spark is never created, it is obscured. The journey is not upward, it is inward. And the guardians of the threshold are always your own attachments. The monad does not reject the world, it sees through it. From this vantage point, life is engaged without desperation. Love is offered without possession. Action occurs without identity inflation. You still participate, but you are no longer dependent. This is why detachment paradoxically makes you more alive, not less. When you act from the monad, outcomes lose their authority. Success and failure become information, not verdicts. Praise and blame lose their sting. You listen more clearly because you are not defending a self-image. You move more precisely because you are not chasing validation. This is not detachment from life. It is detachment from distortion. The ego experiences this shift as death. That is why it resists. It will warn you that without striving, you will become passive. Without attachment, you will lose ambition. Without identity, you will disappear. None of this is true. What disappears is compulsion. What remains is alignment. This is not an escape from reality. It is a relocation within it. You stop living from the surface and begin living from the source. The world continues, but it no longer owns you. Maya still performs, but you are no longer hypnotized by the show. You have never been separate from the monad. You only believed the distance was real. And belief, once examined, cannot survive clarity. Detachment is not practiced in caves or monasteries anymore. It is practiced in traffic, in conversations, in inboxes, in moments where irritation rises before you've decided to feel it. This is where the work becomes real. Anyone can feel enlightened in silence. The test is whether clarity survives contact with daily life. Living detached does not mean withdrawing from responsibility. It means refusing to confuse responsibility with identity. You still work, you still love, you still respond to the world. But you stop asking these roles to define you. The moment a role collapses, and it always will, you remain intact. The illusion demands total participation. It wants your nervous system constantly activated, constantly reacting, constantly validating its urgency. Detachment interrupts this economy. You stop feeding the system with emotional overinvestment. You become difficult to manipulate, not because you resist, but because you do not bite. Watch how often emotional hooks are offered. Outrage headlines, manufactured crises, comparison traps. The illusion thrives on polarity. It wants you angry, righteous, afraid, or obsessed. When you do not supply these reactions, something strange happens. The world grows quieter. Not because events stop, but because the noise was never in the events. It was in your identification. There is a story in Zen of a monk asked why he still swept the monastery grounds even after awakening. He replied, "Before enlightenment, I swept with burden. After enlightenment, I sweep with clarity." The action did not change. The weight did. Detachment does not remove effort. It removes friction. You will notice resistance when you stop overreacting. Others may feel unsettled by your calm. Systems built on emotional leverage lose their grip. Some relationships weaken because they were fueled by shared reactivity. This is not failure. This is filtration. What survives clarity is real. Living detached means allowing discomfort without narrative inflation. Sadness can exist without becoming identity. Fear can pass without becoming prophecy. Pleasure can be enjoyed without clinging. This is not suppression, it is maturity. Children grasp, adults release. The illusion punishes those who step out of its rhythm by calling them indifferent or disengaged. Do not be fooled. Detachment is engagement without distortion. You are more present, not less. You see what needs to be done without dramatizing it. This is why detachment often looks like quiet competence. When you stop belonging to illusion, it does not disappear, but it loses authority. You walk through it the way you walk through weather. A storm may slow you down, but it does not define who you are. This is how freedom begins to stabilize. The great paradox is this: the more tightly you hold life, the more it slips through your fingers. The more you loosen your grip, the more fully it arrives. Attachment promises security, but delivers tension. Detachment appears threatening, but delivers peace. This reversal confuses the mind trained by illusion. When you let go of outcomes, action becomes cleaner. You no longer contaminate effort with expectation. You act because action is appropriate, not because you are trying to secure identity. This is why detached action is often more effective. It is not burdened by desperation. Ancient warriors understood this better than philosophers. In many traditions, the skilled fighter was trained to release attachment to victory and survival itself. Not because death was desired, but because fear corrupts perception. Only the unattached mind sees clearly under pressure. This principle applies far beyond combat. The Bhagavad Gita states it plainly: act without attachment to the fruits of action. This was never meant as moral advice. It was technical instruction. Attachment clouds judgment. Detachment restores accuracy. When outcome obsession dissolves, intuition sharpens. You may fear that letting go will make life dull. The opposite occurs. Colors intensify, moments feel richer. Without the mental commentary of ownership and anxiety, experience becomes direct. Joy no longer carries the fear of loss. Sorrow no longer carries the fear of permanence. Letting go does not mean abandoning goals. It means abandoning the belief that your worth is tied to their success. You can pursue excellence without self-violence. You can strive without self-betrayal. The ego confuses pressure with progress. Detachment reveals a more sustainable power source. This paradox terrifies the illusion because it cannot function without leverage. When you are no longer easily threatened or promised fulfillment, manipulation fails. You are no longer pulled by extremes. You become centered, and centered people are difficult to control. Detachment is not resignation. It is alignment with reality rather than fantasy. You stop demanding that life behave differently than it does. In that acceptance, resistance collapses, energy returns, the mind settles. And the deeper current, the one that was always carrying you, becomes obvious. The more you let go, the more you realize you were never holding anything to begin with. What mattered stayed. What left was never yours. This realization does not diminish life, it clarifies it. There is a moment on this path that few talk about because it is inconvenient and unsettling. When detachment deepens, illusion does not politely retreat. It resists, it escalates. The very structures you are loosening your grip on begin to pull harder. This is not coincidence. It is feedback. Maya defends its territory. You may notice this as sudden turbulence. Old fears resurface. Temptations intensify. Relationships test boundaries. The mind resurrects narratives you thought were finished. This is not regression. It is exposure. What was previously hidden by constant engagement now comes into view because you are no longer distracted. Ancient initiation myths encoded this stage as confrontation with demons, archons, or tricksters. These figures were never external monsters. They were personifications of attachment defending its relevance. The illusion does not want to be seen clearly because clarity dissolves its authority. When it senses weakening identification, it tightens the net. This is where many turn back. Not because the path is false, but because the ego reframes resistance as danger. It will tell you something is wrong, that detachment is making you cold, disconnected, or unmotivated. In truth, you are withdrawing emotional fuel from systems that relied on it. The discomfort is transitional, not pathological. The mistake here is to re-engage in order to feel normal again. Normal, in this context, means resedated. The nervous system has been trained on stimulation and identity reinforcement. When those inputs fade, there is a temporary void. The illusion labels this void as emptiness. It is not emptiness, it is unused space. Stay still in this phase. Do not dramatize it. Do not spiritualize it. Observe it. Let the urge to reattach rise and fall without obeying it. This restraint is not suppression, it is strength. Each time you refuse to re-identify, the illusion loses ground. You may also notice increased clarity about systems you once tolerated. Certain conversations feel hollow. Certain ambitions feel artificial. Certain conflicts feel unnecessary. This is not arrogance. It is recalibration. You are no longer tuned to the same frequency, and resonance drops away. Illusion fights back because it must. It has no other strategy. It cannot offer truth, so it offers intensity. It cannot offer permanence, so it offers urgency. When you stop responding to these tactics, the battle ends, not with victory, but with irrelevance. This chapter marks a turning point. After this, detachment is no longer something you practice occasionally. It becomes the default orientation. The illusion still appears, but it no longer feels compulsory. And once compulsion is broken, there is no return to sleep. Beyond resistance, beyond effort, beyond technique, there is a center that does not fluctuate. It is not created by discipline. It is revealed when disturbance is no longer fed. This is the still point the mystics hinted at, but could not adequately describe. Words always arrive too late. In this center, nothing is missing. That is the first shock. The mind expects either bliss or annihilation. What it finds instead is sufficiency. A quiet completeness that does not depend on circumstance. It is not euphoric. It is grounded. It does not announce itself. It simply is. This is the lived recognition of the monad, not as concept, but as orientation. You are no longer trying to secure yourself through experience. You are experiencing from security. Life moves, but something unmoving witnesses it. That witness is not detached from life. It is intimate with it, without being consumed. Ancient contemplatives described this as the eye that sees itself. Awareness aware of awareness. Not as an abstraction, but as a felt reality. When this stabilizes, fear loses its foundation. Fear requires a threatened self. When the self is seen as a construct, fear has nowhere to attach. This does not make you invincible. It makes you honest. Pain still registers. Loss still hurts. But the core remains uninjured. You stop confusing sensation with damage. You stop confusing emotion with identity. The difference is subtle but absolute. From this center, compassion becomes natural rather than moral. You see others trapped in the same illusion you once defended. You no longer need to argue them awake. You understand that clarity cannot be imposed. It emerges when attachment exhausts itself. This stillness is not withdrawal from the world. It is the point from which engagement becomes clean. You speak when speech is useful. You act when action is needed. You rest when rest is appropriate. There is no narrative urgency pushing you forward or pulling you back. Nothing about this state is dramatic. That is why it is overlooked. The illusion thrives on drama. Truth is quiet. It does not compete. It does not persuade. It waits. And it has infinite patience because it is not going anywhere. Once this center is recognized, life becomes practice without effort. Detachment is no longer something you remember to do. It is what remains when illusion is no longer believed. After clarity stabilizes, life does not transform into something extraordinary. It returns to being ordinary, without the burden of illusion. You wake, you work, you speak, you decide. The difference is subtle but total. You are no longer owned by what you move through. You participate without surrendering yourself to the current. Walking the world unowned does not mean detachment from care. It means care without captivity. You love without demanding permanence. You commit without self-erasure. You choose without bargaining your peace. This balance cannot be taught conceptually. It is learned through loss, through restraint, through repeated refusal to cling. The world will continue to offer identities. It will invite you to define yourself by success, ideology, productivity, trauma, or belief. These invitations never stop. The practice is not avoidance, it is non-adhesion. You let labels pass through without lodging them in the core. You answer to function, not to narrative. Ancient mystics lived this way quietly. They held jobs, raised families, participated in societies that never understood them. They did not announce detachment, they embodied it. Their freedom was not theatrical, it was practical. They could lose everything without losing themselves. There is an old Sufi saying, "Sell your cleverness and buy bewilderment." Cleverness is mere opinion, bewilderment is intuition. To walk unowned is to remain open without being gullible, grounded without being rigid. You stop demanding certainty from life. In return, life becomes workable. This way of being is not passive. Boundaries become clearer, not weaker. You say no without hostility. You say yes without self-betrayal. Because you are no longer negotiating from fear, your decisions carry weight. People may not always like them, but they will feel their coherence. You may still experience moments of reattachment. This does not mean failure. Conditioning has momentum. The difference now is recovery time. You notice sooner. You return faster. The illusion no longer resets you completely. It becomes a temporary fog rather than a permanent climate. Walking unowned means accepting impermanence without flinching. Relationships change, roles end, bodies age, plans dissolve. None of this requires nihilism. It requires maturity. You grieve what leaves without clinging to what cannot stay. This is not detachment from life. It is respect for its nature. By this stage, the path is no longer dramatic. It is steady. You stop asking whether you are progressing. Progress is a concept for the ego. What replaces it is alignment. And alignment does not announce itself. It simply functions. The journey from Maya to Monad does not end with awakening. That fantasy belongs to illusion. The journey repeats, not as regression, but as refinement. Each cycle strips attachment more cleanly. Each return to clarity deepens stability. Liberation is not a finish line. It is a way of relating. You will encounter Maya again and again, in new forms, through subtler identities, through spiritual pride, through the belief that you are done. That belief is simply illusion wearing sacred clothing. Detachment must be applied even to the idea of detachment. The ancient texts were explicit about this. The Gospel of Thomas warns that the kingdom is spread out upon the earth, yet people do not see it. Seeing is not permanent. It must be renewed, not through effort, but through honesty. Each moment asks the same question: what am I clinging to now? This practice matters now more than ever. Modern illusion is faster, louder, and more personalized than anything before it. It learns you. It adapts to you. It offers comfort disguised as truth and distraction disguised as freedom. Without detachment, clarity cannot survive in this environment. This is not about becoming ascetic or removed. It is about becoming unavailable to manipulation, to urgency without meaning, to outrage without insight, to identity without substance. Detachment is not retreat, it is immunity. From the monad, action flows cleanly. You engage because it is appropriate, not because you are seeking resolution through behavior. You speak when words serve truth. You remain silent when they do not. You do not need the world to agree with you in order to remain aligned. The final honesty is this: no one can walk this path for you. Insight can be offered, maps can be drawn, but attachment is always personal. The illusion grips each person at their own pressure points. Liberation requires seeing where you are still negotiating with unreality. Begin where you are, not later, not after understanding everything. Notice the smallest attachment today: the need to be right, the need to be seen, the need to control an outcome. That is where the path opens again. The monad is not waiting at the end of the journey. It is present at the start of every moment you choose clarity over comfort. Every time you release what cannot last, what remains is what never left. And that is the only freedom illusion cannot counterfeit.